Very good. Very good. Leader. Very good. Very good. KICC. Chairman, habari.
Good morning, His Excellency.
Hello, Chair.
How are you, Excellency?
Salama. Yes. Very lucky. Salama. How are you, Party Leader? Karibu kabisa. Very good. Salama. But slow but sure.
You can give me a bonus.
With age, you can get away with anything. Yes.
Then from there, then we invite as chair.
Mr. President, this is not a small feat. Mr. President, the country has been waiting for this. The country has been waiting for this because we are in this broad-based government, but there are people who thought that this report is the one which formed the foundation for establishing broad-based government. Mr. President, I want to inform the country that broad-based government started long before the 10-point agenda came. Mr. President, therefore, it cannot depend, the broad-based arrangement cannot depend on the 10-point agenda. 10-point agenda was meant to strengthen the broad-based arrangement. And Mr. President, the 7th of March, which was slated as the date for making the report, was not the end of the broad-based arrangement. The broad-based arrangement goes up to 2027. The 7th of March was marking the beginning or the date when this 10-point agenda was signed. It was an anniversary. It was to celebrate that anniversary. It was also to give us the interim report of the progress of implementation. Those who thought that, who were saying that there is nothing absolutely which has been done on the 10-point agenda, shame on them. Shame on them, because you can see there is a lot which has been done and there is a lot which is still remaining to be done. I am very, very impressed, particularly by the agenda of infrastructure. The infrastructure is the game changer, and that is game changer for the whole world. If you go to these countries, we are saying we want to go to Canaan through Singapore. That Singapore used exactly the same methods we are using, including the infrastructure fund, including this infrastructure fund which the president signed into law yesterday. And it is infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. That's what we said as a party, as ODM. If we continue to implement these infrastructural projects, the major ones like the SGR through Kericho to KICC, Kisumu, and up to Malaba and Busia, which is a big game changer. This big road, which is connecting us with Uganda from Rironi, is a big game changer. And I was so impressed by the report about Northeastern. Northeastern Kenya is regarded to be an arid and semi-arid land. But there is a lot of wealth there. The country concentrated on what was called the high potential areas. But they left the north, which has all the minerals. It has all the animals. We need to take big abattoirs there and take meat to Saudi. A small country like Botswana has become very rich just because of exporting meat.
As part of our commitment to leadership, integrity, and the fight against corruption, you know very well we had a candid conversation on holding ourselves as leaders to the highest standard of integrity. You remember, members here, I don't want to remind you, but you remember we had a difficult decision. We had a difficult conversation, right? On that matter. It is because we chose ourselves, these members, we chose that we need to raise the bar. And I want to thank members of parliament here. You passed the conflict of interest bill, which I signed into law. If there is a demonstration of leaders sitting here that they want to be held to the highest standard of integrity, it is your passing of the conflict of interest bill. Today, it is law in Kenya. And I want to congratulate both houses for stepping up and measuring up to the yardstick of integrity. We have taken the deliberate decision that to eliminate corruption, to remove inefficiency, we must digitize all government services. Today, from 320 government services in 2022, we have 30,000 government services digitized. That has significantly eliminated bottlenecks. E-Citizen today collects more than 1 billion shillings every day. It is a platform that is traceable. It is a platform that's accountable. The old system where people were paying cash and paying through checks and paying through corners and paying through pay bills, we have stopped. And today, if you pay on E-Citizen, you don't need a receipt because it is traceable from who paid, for what service, to what account. We have digitized government services as part of our commitment to eliminating corruption. We also undertook three significant steps as a means of accountability and reducing on corruption. Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who was in our treasury, will tell you we have been struggling for the last almost 20 years to do what we called single treasury account. It has never happened. It has happened this year. We have been struggling to do what we call zero-based budgeting, meaning that we eliminate confusion. There was an element where people were saying corruption is budgeted. This time round, we are introducing greater accountability on budgeting to make sure that for every budget, every year we bring it to zero, we know what was achieved, what was not achieved, and then we plan again. So those two, and then finally, we are undertaking the e-government procurement. We know it has caused difficulties. It has not been easy. But it has not been easy because those people who are used to manipulating things and tenders and what have really fought this matter. We agreed on EGP like 8 years ago. I think it was 2020. It has been in the books. It has never been implemented. We have implemented it this year. Why? Because we want government procurement to be transparent. We want accountability. And we want to know if you are selling to government, are we getting a fair price? Who is supplying the tender? For how much? And it must be open in a portal where all people involved can follow, so that if I don't get the tender, it means I was not the lowest or I did not meet the qualifications. That is what we are doing in matters to do with integrity and making sure that leadership is held to account. Let me also say that we have enhanced the place of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission. They have concluded 143 cases, investigations. They have already obtained in the last 3 years 86 convictions. And because we have always been told convictions is a challenge, we have achieved 86 convictions, and especially we have enhanced their capacity to seize assets. We've already obtained assets of 9.8 billion, which have now come back to government, and we are pursuing assets worth 22 billion, assets that were obtained by corrupt means. And we say those assets must be surrendered to the government of Kenya. The national debt has been a very big challenge to Kenya. In fact, debt almost brought our country to its knees. We had to intentionally deal with the debt. What have we done on matters to do with debt? Number one, we made sure that we did whatever it took. And I appreciate that I had to make some very difficult decisions for us to be able to escape that. We had to cut down on spending by about 300 billion. We had to remove subsidies on unga. We had to remove subsidies on fuel. We had to eliminate, we had to stall some of our projects because we had to pull back from continuous borrowing. That's number one. Number two, we did not just avoid default. We now went into a plan on how do we reorganize our debt. How do we successfully negotiate our way? I can confidently, that's why we went to the market. We went to the market in February 2024. We went to the market in February 2025. We went to the market in October 2025. And we went to the market again this February. To do what? To do liability management. The debts that were due next year, we now have no debts due in 2027. We have a small debt due in 2028. Then we will go to 2037. We have reorganized our debt portfolio so that it doesn't threaten our fiscal sustainability. And I must thank John Mbadi and his team at Treasury. They have done a very commendable job. Muwapigie makofi. We have also engaged some of our lenders. I do not want to mention names. I have had to go and sit with some of the lenders and tell them, guys, some of these loans, the repayment is too steep for us. You know, some of the interest rates you are charging us are very high. And we have successfully managed to reduce some of the interest rates. We have managed to change some of the structure of the debt so that instead of too much upfront payment, we have managed to negotiate to make them concessional. And today, I can confidently tell the country that we have avoided situations that would put a lot of strain in our budget. We have decided to have alternative instruments of financing our development. We went the route of securitization. Many people told us, oh, you are going to do this. because of securitization, and I must thank members of parliament, when I negotiated with you and I told you, guys, forgo these 7 shillings, it will help us raise money. We raised 175 billion shillings. We returned all the contractors to our roads. We paid them. Today, we have 6,000 kilometers of road going on in Kenya. We have 90% of our contractors are back on site, and new roads are now being contracted because we decided not to continuously depend on the budget. We looked for alternative instruments of financing our road infrastructure. We are doing the same with Talanta. We are doing the same. Look, when I say innovative, I was explaining today in the morning, how did we decide to finance Talanta? The sports fund has been a fund that has been there forever. That sports fund has not achieved much because you find a few, a small project there. Most of the money is lost. Another project there, some cabro in some place, some gate in some place. We decided that instead of spending this money with no accountability, let us consolidate it and do a big project. Today, and somebody was saying, William Ruto has pledged for 15 years money from the sports fund. Yes, we have done it. But at least we have Talanta Stadium, complete, standing here. Tell me, sports fund has been there for 20 years. Which other project has it done? Can you show me one project? At least I can show you what it's going to do for 15 years. Are we together? Yes, that's how innovation works. How are we building bombers? Have you seen any budget have you seen any approval of any line of budget in Parliament for bombers? We are building bombers using the tourism levy. Tourism levy has never done anything for this country for the last 30 years. Nothing. Kuna kitu mara sijui nini naenda kusponsor kitu moja hapo, naenda kusponsor pale, nagawiwa sijui waziri achukue pesa ngapi, sijui nani achukue pesa ngapi. Today, that money is building bombers. Friends, that is how thinking out of the box looks like. Kwani mlikuwa mnafikiri thinking out of the box ni kufanya kitu gani? We are discussing today proceeds from some of our mature assets. When we discussed about selling a stake in Kenya Pipeline, many people said, you want to sell the family jewel, or you want to sell this. We've done privatization before. We privatized Kenya Airways, we privatized KICC, we privatized Safaricom, we privatized I don't know which company. But today, we cannot account for the proceeds of that privatization. We are doing it differently. And that is why Parliament passed the National Infrastructure Fund. It is not an experiment, as I said yesterday. It is what other countries have done. It's what India has done. It's what the UK has done. It's what Ghana has done. It's what South Africa have done. And that is the way to the future. This morning, Leo, I rang the bell at Nairobi's Securities Exchange, and we collected 106 billion from the sale of our stake in Kenya Pipeline IPO. And we are going to put that money in the National Infrastructure Fund. Let me explain to you. If we don't have the National Infrastructure Fund, the National Infrastructure Fund gives us a different leverage. It multiplies that 106 billion 10 times. Not through magic, no. Through innovation, creativity, and financing. And that is how we are going to have additional resources to do our roads, to generate more energy, and to do what our senior here, party leader, was saying. He said, we pretend that there is always an emergency in northern part of Kenya, when we know it's going to happen. Because of what we are doing now, if you read today's newspaper, we have already advertised for several dams. So when I talked about us using the National Infrastructure Fund and proceeds from privatization for building infrastructure, we're not talking about the future. We're talking about doing it now. We've already done the contract for Jomo Kenyatta. That is where about 15 billion shillings is going to go. And that 15 billion shillings is going to enable us raise 150 billion. Just by putting 15 billion. It's the same thing we are going to do with the dams. If you check today, we have already advertised several dams, because that is how we are going to cure the problem of food insecurity. Water harvesting, water storage, irrigation. That's how we are going to eliminate the shame of hunger in our republic. And we are beginning that journey today. Because I see some other people, they cannot explain themselves. We've dealt with food inflation. We've dealt with fuel inflation. We have dealt with inflation that comes from Kenyans spending on education. We spend with the transport costs. You don't hear matatus hiking costs because the cost of fuel has gone up. We have dealt with more Kenyans that are working today. That is dealing with cost of living head on. And that is what we are doing together with you guys. Devolution is a principle we committed ourselves. In the 10-point agenda, we said we must be deliberate about devolution, because devolution is the single most important instrument. In fact, it is the heart of the new constitution, making sure that resources and the power to decide on those resources goes to the grassroots. What have we done on devolution ever since we agreed on this 10-point agenda? Number one, we committed that we are going to increase the shareable revenue. Last year, we increased 30 billion from 385 to 415 billion. This year, we are going to increase from 415 billion by another 35 billion to 450 billion. That is the commitment we made to ourselves that we would do. I am encouraged that the ODM party, now under the leadership of Dr. Oburu Oginga, remains steadfast in upholding the principles Raila Odinga stood for. Together, we honor Raila's legacy through our continued commitment to the ideals he championed for the unity and advancement of our country. Our coming together 1 year ago was guided by one overriding objective: to stabilize our country and to address long-standing socioeconomic and political challenges. For too long, our politics had been consumed and trapped by division, tribal competition, and regional rivalry instead of focusing on the real issues affecting the lives of all Kenyans equally. Together, we resolved to change that. Today's joint parliamentary group meeting between the two parties is therefore significant, not only because it reflects the spirit of that agreement, but also because of the responsibility we carry as leaders to deliver on commitments made to the people of Kenya. It is good to be back here at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, the birthplace of the Memorandum of Understanding between Kenya Kwanza UDA and ODM. Exactly 1 year and 3 days ago, my brother, the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and I agreed to work together in the national interest for the benefit of our country. Although our brother Raila is no longer with us physically, his wisdom, foresight, and enduring commitment to the nation continues to guide our shared journey ahead. The values we stood for, dialogue, unity, and the pursuit of justice and progress for all Kenyans, remains firmly alive. And just for the record, the 10-point agenda was not imposed on us. The 10-point agenda was our commitment, voluntary commitment between our parties in respect to the people of Kenya. There are some people who want to appoint themselves supervisors, as if we met the commitment to them. We did not make the commitment to them. We met the commitment to the people of Kenya. And our responsibility and reporting is to the people of Kenya. And let me say the following. We did this, and we set the standard very high ourselves because we believe that is what we should do for the people of Kenya. Not because anybody forced us, not because anybody imposed it on us, but it is because it is our commitment that Kenyans deserve a higher standard of leadership and delivery. We have addressed all the 5 issues. Number 1, on food inflation, on matters to do with food, we have transformed our agricultural sector. We can confidently stand here and say we did, over the last year or 2 years, we have produced more maize, we have produced more tea, more coffee, more sugarcane, and the whole productivity space has risen. It is the reason why today the prices of unga are different from what they were in 2022. We have made a commitment to that. Number 2, we have managed our economy well. That is why fuel inflation has come down. Cost of fuel was 218 at some point per liter. It has come down by almost 30%. And it is because we have taken deliberate steps to stabilize our currency and to make sure that we don't pay more for fuel because our currency is not behaving. The people of Kenya have spoken with clarity on how they want our country to be much more inclusive and for us to be able to have a society that leaves nobody behind. We have done 5 issues on this subject of inclusivity and cost of living. Number 1, we now have a policy on the marginalized in Kenya. We have provided bursaries for their children. We have provided many other interventions that will assist minorities, people who are perceived to be marginalized, for them to be brought into the bracket and so that they are not left behind. We have deliberately dealt on matters that finally dictate cost of living. And there are 4 matters that dictate cost of living: cost of food, cost of fuel, because it influences our transport, the cost Kenyans pay for healthcare, and the cost Kenyans pay for their children to go to school. We all agree that one of the most pertinent issues in NADCO was the issue of electoral reforms, and especially the appointment of commissioners to the IEBC. You remember very well that that was a very big debate. Today, we have gone through the process. The court processes have been dispensed with, and today we have a functioning Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. It has already conducted several by-elections. And as a show of confidence in this broad-based administration, all the parliamentary elections that have been held have been won by broad-based. I said all of them. Yes. Just for good record, and we are not, Atusemi, that's what it is. Yeah, those are the facts. In fact, the last by-elections that were held, of the 4 seats that were in contest, broad-based won all of them. Again, for good record. We are faithful to our commitment on matters to do with legislation that is there in Parliament. We know there has been back and forth between the 2 houses. We will be recommending in this PG that we have a broad-based negotiating team. One that is going to sit with both houses of Parliament, comprising membership from both houses of Parliament. Because if broad-based decides, Parliament will decide. Is that true? Yes. Because we have the numbers to drive it through both houses of Parliament. So I want us to raise the standard a bit so that we establish a broad-based negotiating committee or mediation committee to assist us on all the items that have been presented for legislation in Parliament by NADCO. One has already been dispensed with. The matter of NGCDF. The courts have given direction, and therefore the legislation that had been presented to Parliament is now what the lawyers called factors of issue. I mean, it's been dispensed with. So we now need to pick on what the directions court has given to do the rest of the funds. We had planned to mark the first anniversary of the signing of the MOU on the 7th of March by assessing the progress made in implementing the agreed agenda. However, as you all know, in the days leading up to that date, our nation suffered a tragic loss. We lost a distinguished member of Parliament, the late Honorable Johanna Ngeno of Emuru Adigir, who was a committed member of this parliamentary group and a dedicated servant of the people. Were it not for the fatal helicopter crash, the Honorable Ngeno would have been seated here with us today. May his soul rest in peace. And finally, we are making sure that more Kenyans have income. Today, I report to this PG, we have 1.8 million Kenyans who are not working in 2022. Today they are working. 1.8 million. 640,000 in our housing program, 540,000 in export of labor, 300,000 in our digital platform. We have close to 820,000 under our Nyota program. 120,000 of them, we have given them grants. And I have been to those meetings in person. I have met the 120,000 young people myself. Yeah? Many people were trying to give me small lectures. What is the president doing? Going to give out checks to young people. And I told them, this is how I choose to spend my time. You decide about yours. Okay? Because I believe the young people of this country deserve my time. And time spent with those young people, talking to them, is time well spent as far as I'm concerned. And I have asked the Deputy President and the ministry is concerned to look at opportunities, and we are discussing with our partners to look at opportunities to expand that program. We believe it is a successful program. Many young people have stepped forward, and we believe we can do more and maybe extend that program to close to 2 million young people in Kenya. And in this particular one, we made a deliberate, intentional decision that this is going to be young people between the ages of 18 and 29, because that is where the heaviest load of our young people are. You all know that also we have lifted a heavy load that would otherwise be borne by Kenyans on matters to do with universal health coverage. Today, as the numbers we have been told here, we are actually closing to 30. I think by next week or the week after, 30 million Kenyans will be on social health insurance. And this week, forget about the propaganda in the headline of the news that we lost, that some 50 billion can be lost. You know, people are mad. If we lose 50 billion, it means there will be nothing to pay, no hospital. This week alone, we are paying 16.2 billion shillings, this week alone, for PHC and for SHIF. This week alone. We are paying the highest amounts of money to any hospital that has ever been paid under any other administration or under any other program. That is the reality. That is a fact. So, in terms of cost of living, we are dealing with health to reduce bills paid by citizens. We are dealing with education to reduce bills paid by citizens. We are managing fuel to reduce transport costs. We are dealing with food so that we can reduce the cost of living. So I want members of this PG to walk with your heads high. This administration, the administration you have formed, is tackling cost of living head on. We have undertaken education reform. We've raised the budget for education from 500 billion. This financial year, it was 702 billion. The budget that we're going to read in July is 765 billion. Why are we raising resources on matters education? Because we are putting more money in making sure that every child goes to school. We have not only hired more teachers, because if government does not pay for those teachers, boards of governors pay for them, which means parents pay for them. We've hired more teachers to lift up the burden on parents from paying board of governors teachers. Number two, we have reduced fees for our university and TVET institutions by between 10 and 40%. The committees on education are here. We have also, as of this week, reduced the fees for our TVET institutions from 105,000 per year to now a standardized 67,000 per year. You heard the Minister for Education announce that this week. It is because we want to make sure that we lift the burden of parents on matters to do with school fees. And that is the standardized fee. And then we will now go in with all the bursaries. The counties are given all the bursaries. The NGCDF is giving. And we have signed agreements with counties. You remember the Comptroller of Budget did raise issues on counties supporting bursaries. The Ministry of Education has signed with all the counties. Now, county governments can give bursaries to all our children because there are no children for national government or county government. In order to enhance the efficiency of devolution, especially the efficiency of accountability, we made a commitment under the 10-point agenda that we are going to support the county assemblies to be autonomous and independent so that they can carry out their oversight role properly. Parliament, both houses, did agree with us. They brought the bill to me. I signed the bill. And from this June, in the next budget, county assemblies will have their own independent budgets. They will no longer need to make friends with the county governments or to be friends of governors for them to get their resources. We are going to be expecting of the county assemblies to exercise their oversight mandate much more robustly, because now they will not have excuses that in case they are too tough on the governors, they may lack the resources for their county assemblies. That will now be a thing of the past. And then number 4, on devolution again, we realize that just as we have the national administration, the county assemblies, members of county assemblies and governors have no pension. And we have made the strategic decision that the bill that was there in Parliament, which in my opinion has serious challenges, it is my position that we now agree in this PG, that it is only fair. Governors and members of the county assembly are elected leaders like us. The same way we have pension, it's only right that they have pension. In order to enhance the efficiency of devolution, especially the efficiency of accountability, we made a commitment under the 10-point agenda that we are going to support the county assemblies to be autonomous and independent so that they can carry out their oversight role properly. Parliament, both houses, did agree with us. They brought the bill to me. I signed the bill. And from this June, in the next budget, county assemblies will have their own independent budgets. They will no longer need to make friends with the county governments or to be friends of governors for them to get their resources. We are going to be expecting of the county assemblies to exercise their oversight mandate much more robustly, because now they will not have excuses that in case they are too tough on the governors, they may lack the resources for their county assemblies. That will now be a thing of the past. And then number 4, on devolution again, we realize that just as we have the national administration, the county assemblies, members of county assemblies and governors have no pension. And we have made the strategic decision that the bill that was there in Parliament, which in my opinion has serious challenges, it is my position that we now agree in this PG, that it is only fair. Governors and members of the county assembly are elected leaders like us. The same way we have pension, it's only right that they have pension. Yesterday, I did sign into law the pension benefits for judges. I don't think we should leave our governors and county assembly members behind. So those are the 4 fundamental things that I wanted to say on matters to do with enhancing, supporting, and integrating devolution into our governance system. The MOU between UDA and ODM was built around a 10-point agenda, drawing largely from the recommendations of the National Dialogue Committee, or commonly known as NATCO. These agenda items address critical national issues, including electoral reforms, the cost of living, governance, and economic stability. Following the signing of the MOU, we immediately began implementing the agreed programs. I am pleased with the report that has been presented here today by the Oversight Committee, highlighting the progress made across the 10 agenda items during the past year. The progress we have made is evident across several areas. Our country today enjoys greater stability, and the partnership has created an environment in which government programs can proceed without unnecessary political disruption. Opportunities for our young people are expanding, with government programs now reaching hundreds of thousands of young people across the nation. Through initiatives in housing, health, agriculture, education, the digital and creative economy, as well as the labor mobility programs, we are deliberately expanding new avenues for employment